Right, good evening everybody, I hope you're doing very, very well. I'm currently being blinded so I can look at the camera, so you're welcome. There's a big shiny thing up there that we don't really get to see that often in the UK. This is the third time of me filming this video because I bought new DJI mics, the Mic 2 or Mic 3 or whatever it is, in an attempt to have less wires and less audio and post-production work when I film my videos. And I filmed it twice now. The first one with the mic just in here, horrendously loud, could barely hear myself. And the second time I've used my lavalier mic into the DJI mic that's in my pocket. I got home and it was so loud. I mean, I can't really use it because the audio was clipping and all sorts of stuff. On a plus note, had a bit of a full-on week at work, and this is exactly what I need. This video has forced me to get outside, and I'm really not angry about it, because I mean, look at this. I mean, you're not going to be able to see a lot of it because GoPro, but I'm currently standing on a track which I'm pretty sure is private land, but I didn't see a sign for private land. As you can see, I'm on Le Gadium. She's still going, and she's going very, very well, as you'd expect. 44 and a bit thousand miles now. A metric shed ton, the PG way of saying that, has happened in the last month, I guess. To give you a very, very quick synopsis, I've got a load of new stuff again. Emma's bike was stolen. Yeah, I know. My beloved Ducati that you would have seen in the last 2 weeks' videos is scrapped. Yep, it also broke down. But all good news, weirdly. I've got a load of new products which have discount codes, so I'm going to put those in throughout the video. They're also in the description. But if you're interested in those, you're going to have to watch a little bit longer. Soz. Before we get going, you may notice that on my bike I am sporting these things. I don't know if you remember from a couple of months back, I did that test on my monkey bike where I was dragging a Rhino Walk bag and a Krieger bag behind the monkey through mud and all that sort of stuff. 40 mile an hour off road just to see if it was any good. I might have already mentioned this in another video, but myself, Joe, Emma, my partner, and Nicole, which is Joe's partner, we're all going away next Friday into Europe on the Tanks, aka the Super Adventure and his Africa Twin. Because the girls are going on the back of the bike, I don't really have any luggage that I can use. I've obviously got my top box, but normally I just twin that with a Lone Rider, what are they called? The big Lone Rider roll bags. These pannier racks here are from Outback Motortech, which is the company that makes my crash bars. Because I don't really use panniers, I was very reluctant to spend £500, £600, £700 on a set of panniers. I was talking to Rich from Mad for Bikes, lovely discount below here somewhere. Rhino Walk, the company that does the bag that I competed against Krieger, does panniers. They're waterproof. They're 25 litres, I think they are. They expand up to 32 if you just don't roll the top up so much. But they look quite nice. So I got these through Mad for Bikes with a hefty discount because those guys are absolute heroes, on the premise that I would test them to see if they're worthwhile Mad for Bikes stocking them. But they just look quite nice, if I'm honest. They don't look any different to any other sort of type of bag. They're obviously they're roll top. They've got carry handles, they've got shoulder straps. I don't know the exact price, but they're about 85 quid a pannier. 85 quid. Which is nothing. So I thought, yeah, sod it, why not? I love the way this bike looks when it's toured up. Mark sent me new black top box dividers the other day, and they look really cool. So I'll show you them when we get the top box on. Here's my crutch, everybody. These are a set of new Taranis Elite jeans, so they're the same ones I had before in the indigo. But look how low profile the armour is. RoadSkin have been trialling / using this new Rion armour, I think it's pronounced, something like that. Basically it's super lightweight, super flexible and breathable as well. So the normal type of D3O armour isn't very breathable, it's just thick foam. So I've been trialling that out in these jeans. Should we get on the road? I'm very conscious that I may be on a farmer's field and he's going to come out with a gun and shoot me or something. I've got 2 microphones going at the moment to basically back up the DJI mic if it records that shit again. I've got the standard setup that I've been using for the last couple of months, so that is this one that you're currently listening to me on. And then if I switch now to the DJI mic with the lavalier mic, I felt like it sounded a little bit shit. If I'm honest, it doesn't have as much depth to the sound. This might be better because I've turned down the gain on it, but we'll find out. We'll talk about Emma's bike being stolen, and then after that we'll talk about the Ducati being scrapped and breaking down, because I think most of you will probably want to hear about that more, so I'll put that afterwards so you watch longer, and I get better watch time. I might stand up for this bit so you're going to get crotch. Before I get on to the subject of Emma's bike being stolen, you all know very, very well about custom fit guards. My custom moulded earplugs, which I've got. There's quite a few versions on the market, but I use custom fit guards. I have done for many, many years. Probably about the last year and a half, I've been using their in-ear monitors, which are essentially speakers built into the earplug. And I've got the speakers going directly into my ears, which is beautiful for audio at motorway speeds or anything like that. Custom Fit Guards sent me a set of their single driver earplugs. If you don't already know, I work in the visual effects industry. I'm also quite partial to a very nice sound system. I used them for a while, but they were just quite tinny, and there was no real depth to the sound. For most people, they'd probably be okay, but I just found them a little bit crap, if I'm honest. I spoke to Rich at the Motorcycle Live show in November, and he said, "Oh well, if you'd have told me that, we do 8mm dual driver, I think they are, but they're like the creme de la creme of in-ear speakers." He kindly sent me another set. All I will say is, oh my god, they are so much better. You have to bed them in a bit as well, but the noise of them, like, they're so much bassier and so much deeper. Like, the depth of sound is amazing in comparison. It feels like my entire head and helmet is a speaker. It's quite incredible. If you're watching, Rich, thank you very, very much. I do appreciate them, and if you're interested in them, there's obviously because it's me, there's a 10% discount code. Let's get on to the subject of Emma's bike being stolen. Emma was working late. She's in management of a nursery, if anyone's interested. I had a notification from Monimoto, which is the motorcycle tracker that I use on all of my vehicles. That went off and said that her bike was moving. There's been a history of kids moving her bike or sitting on her bike and stuff like that, so I tend to ignore the notifications for a little bit. If it continues moving and the alarm is still going off, I'll call Emma and be like, either your bike's been stolen or your battery in your Monimoto remote has gone flat. Seemed to move like 2 or 3 streets away and then stop moving. 25 minutes later, I had a call from her on the verge of tears. My bike's been stolen. Like, you could hear her voice going, oh, just you get the idea of what I said. So I went on the app, I found where the Monimoto said the bike was. I just screenshotted that and sent it off to Emma with a location, and just sort of said, can you go and have a look here to see if your bike's here? If they had somehow found the tracker, they've ripped it out and thrown it somewhere, I don't know. And then about 10-15 minutes later, I had a call back from her saying, I've got it. It was essentially tucked around the corner, 3 or 4 streets away, between some garages. It's quite a common theme where people will steal a bike, move it X amount of miles away to see if anyone comes back for it 2 or 3 days later. She got the bike back, she got it home. There's not a single bit of damage on it. The steering lock still works. I've checked it over. There's no tracker or anything on the bike that I can find apart from the one I've put on there. We got it back, which is brilliant. And like, honestly, and I think this is where I'm leading into it, without that Monimoto giving me the notification of where that bike was, we would have assumed it was gone forever. There's no way we would have found that bike where it was. Like, Emma looked around the whole area before she called me. We would have just assumed it was gone. Even if it was just some kids sticking around, let's move this bike, and it'd be really funny waiting to see the owner of it coming out to find it not there. It'd be really, really funny. We would have still assumed it was gone. She would have had to claim on her insurance. She is on my insurance as well, so it meant that we both would have had claims on our insurance. That would have meant we would have both paid higher premiums over the next 5 years. They never give you what you paid for the bike, so she would have had to pay more money to get a new bike. It would have cost us thousands. Because of a £130 tracker, we got that bike back, and it was so close. Obviously, I rate Monimoto. Some more expensive ones have more features, like you can live track it right now, and you can see its battery voltage and stuff like that. But the Monimoto for 130 odd quid, 35 quid a year, you could buy. I pay the same for 3 trackers that I would for one of the more expensive ones, like the bike tracks or the data tools or anything like that. And also, it's not tied to the battery. Honestly, if you don't have a tracker on your bike, I don't care whether you use my link or whether you don't use my link. If you're going to leave your bike anywhere, get yourself a tracker, because I mean, it's literally just saved us a couple of grand at least. She got home and I immediately ordered an MM9, which is the new Monimoto, for the Ducati. And I pay for these. I don't get freebies from Monimoto or anything like that. And obviously, circling back to the fact that she hadn't locked it up, Emma does have a disc lock, and she does have chains. Never wants to take it in because it weighs the same as Bristol. I obviously run these. I don't know whether you can see that actually. That's a LiteLok Core Moto 125, which I've used for maybe 2 years now. I used to cart a 16mm chain into London with me, and it was the bane of my life. So you go around the corner, the chain slides to that side, and you get a clunk halfway around the corner. Now I've got some form of a following. I thought I'd be cheeky and try and get a discount off of LiteLok. So I messaged LiteLok on their Instagram, and they're really, really lovely on their Instagram team. I told them about what had happened, and I went, look, we're happy to buy another lock. I want to buy a LiteLok for my Ducati as well, because I don't want that sitting in the garage unarmoured. I'm very much an advocate of these. Is there anything you can do in the way of a discount? Not that I need one, but it would just be really nice. I ordered a LiteLok Core Moto for Emma. They were incredibly kind to throw in a disc lock, like one of their Baronium D-Lock, like the really heavy duty, almost angle grinder proof D-Locks. That's 150, 160 quid's worth of lock they just throw in. So thank you very, very much to any of the guys at LiteLok if you're watching this. That has meant that Emma is now secure on her bike. It means the Ducati is now secure with a Monimoto and a LiteLok. We are fully securityed up now. Obviously, following the story and everything that had happened, I don't want anyone else to have to deal with what we've just dealt with. Having a LiteLok on would have stopped the whole thing in the first place. Or at least, if they were going to attack it with an angle grinder, it would have made so much noise. Emma would have been outside calling the police and everything before they'd even got away with the bike. So yes, I said to them, look, I want to convince as many people as possible to buy LiteLoks or buy security for the bike, whether it's a LiteLok or not, whether you believe another product is better, whatever it is. I just want you lot to get security. If you are interested in getting a LiteLok, if you use the discount code below now, you'll get £10 off your order, and that is for about 5 or 6 weeks left. So we got the bike back, thank the baby Jesus. So I think that only leaves the Ducati left, doesn't it? If you aren't aware, I financed the bike because I'm not made of money and I spend all of my money before I earn it. I bought my Ducati on finance. There's a place called Cockwell. Oh, funny. I'm testing these panniers to make sure they stay on. I had a random call from the Close Brothers finance company one afternoon, quite late in the afternoon, and they said, Mr. Vincent, we understand you've just bought a Ducati 916. And I went, yes, I have done so. I'm very happy with it. Can you do us a favour and send over a copy of your V5, which is a proof of ownership document, or like a registration document, or whatever you want to call it. So they asked me to send a copy of that, and I went, yeah, I mean, I don't have it yet because I've only just bought the bike, so it takes a couple of weeks to come through. But I can get a copy of the old one from the bike specialists. Can I ask why? And they went, the vehicle identification number, VIN, which is stamped on all vehicles, comes back as a scrapped vehicle. When I say my heart dropped out my arse, I was like, there's got to be a mistake, that can't be right. I mean, it's clearly not a scrap vehicle because it's in my garage, right? I've got the VIN on this bit of paper, can you tell me what you've got on your system? And they read it out, and it was the same. I fell out of love with it like that. I guess, like, I was properly gutted about it. Even though I bought it on finance, I worked bloody hard to save up the money to pay for that bike. And you've just bought this thing that you've wanted for years, and then the finance company call you up and say it's a scrapped bike. Like, as in crushed. Like it should be a little block of steel. Anyway, you're waffling, Sam. What happened? I could text Chris from the bike specialist where I bought the bike. I was quite blunt with him, and I just said, mate, this is what I've just had from the finance company. We need to talk about this ASAP kind of thing. Like, I want to know what's going on. And he said, yep, no problem. I'll call you first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning, he called me. He was a very settling voice, let's put it that way. Mate, look, I understand your trepidation. I understand your panic. Don't worry. This is a very normal thing. Well, it fucking isn't. Like, you know, it's not often that I get called to say that my bike is scrapped. Obviously, I didn't say that to him, but that's what was going through my head. He said, basically what happens is, on the older bikes, they had very short VINs, vehicle identification numbers. Those are the only ones that are brought up. So you have like an engine number and a vehicle identification number, which make up the full thing. And obviously, only the little bit of the vehicle identification numbers taken. And then on new vehicles, they have much longer VINs. So quite often the VIN in an old bike will fit into the VIN of a new bike. So he said to me, this one comes back to a SimShark scooter, which has obviously been written off. And I went, well, I've never heard of SimShark before. And then he sent me a copy of the HPI check again, and at the bottom it says mileage discrepancy and scrappage warning, model SimShark. And I was like, okay, maybe that's alright then. The write-off date was in 2016. My bike was off the road between 2012 and 2022, so there was 4 years. So unless someone's ragging it around a field or a track and managed to write it off then, clearly the bike wasn't on the road at that point. Obviously I'm happy about that, but what I want to know is how do we sort this? Because if I ever come to sell the bike in the future, guess what's going to happen? Someone's going to do a HPI check, which is like a background check. They're going to go, no, it's been scrapped, I'm not buying this. He emailed the guy I was speaking to from the finance company, who also have access to be able to put stuff on the HPI records. He emailed with a full breakdown, full description, copy of the previous V5 documents. I obviously emailed with a photo of the VIN on the chassis of the bike, double down on the proof, if that makes sense. The finance guy comes back and says, yep, we've verified it on the system, we've verified that it's a different VIN. He said if we clear this off the system, it will come up next time because it's still partial VIN. You'll be in the same situation. So what we'll do is we'll leave it on the system, we'll mark it as clear, and we'll mark down what's happened and what the reason for it is. There's all notes in the system, blah blah blah. So I don't have a scrap Ducati, which is very, very good to know. But Chris from the bike specialists, if you are watching this, thank you very, very much for jumping on that so quickly. That's not where the troubles ended, much to both mine and Chris's annoyance, I guess. Oh, tunnel? Tunnel. 8 miles away from home, I was riding like I am currently, not really, spanking it, wasn't really doing anything untoward. Coming down a hill towards a T-junction and it just conked out. Tried starting it, it turned over, didn't fire. That's really strange. Tried bump starting it a few times, that didn't do anything. We've obviously lost spark or something. You can hear the fuel pump prime. We pulled the side panels off, checked all the fuses, all that kind of stuff. They're all completely fine. The only thing I can attribute it to is that the ground on the battery was very, well, quite loose, to be fair. Tightened it back up and still nothing really. Luckily for me, there was a lovely chap on a Harley that had gone past a couple of times. You know, the ones with like the chrome disc wheels with no spokes. They're a really cool looking thing. And he pulls up, jumps off it, and just said, "I've been past a couple of times now, and I can see that you haven't moved. What's up?" Explained the situation, and he went, "Oh well, I'll go and get my van, and I'll take you home if you want." And I was just like, "Oh my god, you're an absolute hero." By this time, I'd called Emma, got Emma to come out with a load of tools, like all sorts of stuff. So literally my hero. Like, I love you. Offered to buy him a beer and all sorts of stuff, and he was like, "No. We're all bikers." Just said pass on the karma, I guess. Basically, he didn't say that, but pretty much said that. Pass it on. If you're watching this, again, I doubt you are, but thank you from the bottom of my heart, you saved me a lot of money. I mean, I've got breakdown cover, but that would have meant I was there until 9 PM, probably waiting for them to turn up. So yeah, he gave me a lift home, and then I spent all evening, pretty much most of the next morning, going back and forth through the different electrics, testing things. Had a multimeter across a load of things, tried new batteries, all sorts of stuff, jump packs, the lot. The stator, which produces the electricity from like an electromagnet, there's meant to be a certain resistance across the 2 points, or 3 points, depending what your bike is. And I think that is meant to be between 0.5 and like 1.5. It's meant to be within those ranges for the Ducati. And it was like 8.9 or something ridiculous, and I was like, oh well, that's fucked. I managed to kind of check the regulator rectifier, which is for like distribution and regulating that voltage coming off of the stator, and that wasn't quite right either. And then the battery as well, the brand new battery that the bike specialist had put in, I had on my Nocco charger thing while I was doing all this work. It was charging at 14 volts, which is fine. I took the crocodile clips off of the battery and it dropped to like 10 volts, which is way too low. So the only thing I can think that has happened, the regulator rectifier basically shunts power off to the ground. That's how it kind of works. That couldn't do that because that ground bolt was loose, meaning the regulator rectifier has cooked itself, which means the stator has been just willy-nilly producing as much power as it wants, which has also then in turn, all of this together has fried the battery. I mean, the reg recs are known for going on these old bikes, but I was just like, oh really, like now? I mean, lucky I was so close to home, and lucky for that bloke, I guess. So on the Monday morning, I text Chris from the bike specialists once again, like, Chris, you're going to hate me, mate. I said, can you just call me when you get a minute? I've got some more fun for you. Oh, that was a nice pop. Oh, I love this bike so much. I explained the whole situation. I'm sure he was sat there going, alright, but why are you telling me this? And then I muttered the 4 little words that he probably really didn't want to hear, which were, it's still under warranty. It's just lucky that I've done 600 miles in the last 3 weeks on it. But I just said, look, I'm not going to take the piss, but what will this warranty cover? I doff my hat to you, sir. He was very kind to offer to pay for a new regulator rectifier and a replacement stator. The only thing he said was, do you mind getting the stator rewound, as in the coils rewound, instead of buying a new stator, because a new stator is like £600-700, whereas getting it rewound is 150 quid. And then I also loosely mentioned the battery. The battery in the bike was a big old heavy lead acid one. I wanted a sealed unit, an AGM kind of maintenance free battery, the motorbat ones basically. I mentioned it to him and he went, are you wanting us to pay for that as well? And I was like, well, it kind of is linked to this whole thing. Yeah, he just went, well, send me the link. I was like, thanks, Chris. The motorbat battery turned up the next day. I'm like, oh wow, I was not expecting that. The stator's being sent off to a company called West Country Windings, which are in Harlow, I think they are. And they also will provide a MOSFET regulator rectifier. Chris just said, get them to call me when it's done and we'll pay for it, which is absolutely perfect. It might not be that, but if it's something like the fuel pump or whatever, then I'll replace that because I'm not going to take the piss too much. So Chris, again, if you're watching this, thank you very, very much. If any of you are interested in classic bikes, and I'm talking the creme de la creme. Oh, Staffy, hello. Check out the bike specialist, because some of the bikes they've got in stock are ridiculous. They are a little bit pricey for the bikes they're selling. Like, you could probably get them cheaper privately, but the service they've given me all the way along has been mint, mate. They've serviced the bike, they've done all the belts and everything, which was a condition of me wanting to buy that bike, and now all of this work that's being done under warranty. Doing that work myself, I would have spent £2,000. That brings the bike down to a level of what I'd expect it to be second hand, or like a privately, should I say. They've got like Brough Superiors, Aprilia RSV Mini Rs, they've got Honda RC30s, everything. It is absolutely like incredible stuff. If you do ever go forward with anything, talk to Chris. tell him that you watched my channel. He won't know anything about my YouTube channel. You'll just have to say it's the blonde guy on the 916 that has rinsed your commission. But tell him about my YouTube channel, tell him that I sent you. So yes, that's my scrapped Ducati and my broken Ducati. I'm going to go home now because it is nearly 9 o'clock and I want my dinner. So thank you very, very much for watching this horrendously long episode, but I mean it's worth it, right? Because an absolute shitload has happened. So thank you very, very much for joining me. Subscribe if you haven't already, because there's plenty to come, and I will see you in next week's video. Goodbye.